Chapter 11. I change only by the living word. I must cast myself away, and the things of God must enter. If God's word enters, the person I melts down at any moment without even my knowing. The root of human disposition remains in people, and so the spirit does not really change. If it were not for the word, we could not change. When we entrust all things to Him, He takes responsibility. All things open for the one who gives thanks. We must not spit out negativity. Thankfulness must arise inside the spirit. Now, thankfulness, joy, and peace come in contact with our flesh. When we receive the word, all things enter me, and the flesh feels them as well. Thus, while receiving the word or while praying, to think about other things is to commit spiritual adultery. It is considered shameful. Thought drags away the heart of the person who loves God. God grieves when I do not realize that while I am thinking of other things, I am being dragged away. The spiritual world is very sensitive in this way. Thus, the living word must enter so that those thoughts leave. God blocks thought so that it cannot enter. The fulfillment of the word which He spoke is the authority of speech. If I receive the word by faith, at any moment and without my knowing, thought disappears and my center faces God. Now it is the time where I hurl myself, and only the things of God enter. I must put away all things that are on my mind and face only God. Because God gave us perfect love, He also desires to assume perfect love. I must become a person who pulls only God's things into my spirit. Now I must fall deep into the living word and perfectly offer myself to Him. When I receive the word, I must not be so conscious about other human beings. I must hear only God's sound. I change only by the living word. God desires for me to change by the living word. He desires for my heart, which was scattered, to be gathered to one place and face God. The reason why God changes our form is because He must reveal Himself through us. Even though I cannot love, if God enters, He changes me into love. And so I must concentrate when I receive the living word. All things become very easily and beautifully fulfilled for the person upon whom God rests. But for the person who God does not rest upon, it is only difficult and laborious. If God rests upon me, I change. I change by the living word. If I do not change, I have not met God. If I meet God from inside the living word, because He lives and does work, I cannot not change. If I acknowledge and receive God's word, that word changes me. I cannot change myself, but the living word enters me and changes me. My heart itself changes. There may be a person who appears insignificant in my eyes, but God changes that person into a useful form. When we see, what use is the grass out on the fields? But farmers cut them up, make fertilizer, and use it. Since I hold on to worries, concerns, and anxieties, which I do not need, I feel hardship and difficulty. There is too much to bear. If I give all things over to God, He fixes them and makes them beautiful. I must lay myself down before Him and receive the things God gives to me. Then, no matter what the problem is, God will turn it into a good shape. He changes it into bread that is good to eat. God changes it into something beautiful. Are we not very thankful for the work that God does? The era of love is not done by our strength. Now, things will move by God's power. When things change into God's shape, works of bringing the person next to me alive arise. God must receive glory and be happy because of me so that I can receive blessing, and the pathway with God opens. Joy of heaven arises by the living word. When does God feel the happiest? It is when life, which is inside me, arises and joyfully feels and experiences God's things. I cannot see with my eyes, but that I see a response inside myself is life inside me coming alive and moving. During these times, the Father is happy. When the life inside us feels God frequently and shows a response, what God would look at once, He looks at twice. He looks a third time and He continues to want to look. Does the feeling that I am nothing before the Word not come? The Word appears as Spirit, and I, who was like a king, become like a handful of ash. When I receive the living Word from inside of God, when I go deep inside prayer and fulfill an intimate relationship with Him, the joy I feel when I praise is not the joy of human. It is the joy of heaven that has come in search of me. When the joy of heaven comes, the person I cannot exist. And if every day overflows with such joy, what else can I ask for? If I receive the word of truth with the stir of my heart, if I can feel Him resting upon me inside prayer, and when I well up with the feeling of thankfulness to God, it is more precious than gaining the whole entire world. I come to taste God's world and God's heat that I have not been able to taste in the meantime. I come to experience the fire of God. How could we possibly buy this kind of joy with money? God is happier that a single life rises with joy than with the offering of material things. When life inside me, which was dead, comes alive and discovers His life, God is at His happiest. Would we not be happy if God saw our changed image and said, "You are beautiful indeed"? Such happiness is not of the earth, but of heaven. I must melt by the living word. The law is a pathway to meet God, but the Israelites adorned themselves with the law. As they adorned themselves, they made their eye stronger. That is why even though the deliverer and Messiah had come, they could not recognize. They made my form with the law. The law was given so that I could melt with the word of truth, but rather I became strong and revealed I before God. Even now, God rests as the Spirit of the second coming. But they do not realize the words of the Spirit at all. In the meantime, I made myself strong with the word and became Jericho. Without the living word, a hardened Jericho cannot be broken down. Now, priests will bear the ark, circle the Spirit, and destroy Jericho.